I need you to hold two facts in your head at the same time. The first fact: on the morning of March 7th, 2024, Dorothy Hodges sat at her kitchen table in Aurora, Colorado, and cried tears of joy for the first time in nearly 4 months. Her hands were shaking. She was reading a message on her phone, a message from her daughter. The second fact: Ella Poole had been dead since November. Dorothy didn't know that yet. She was too busy typing back. The message said, "Mom, I'm alive. I'm so sorry. Please don't call the police. I need your help." Dorothy Hodges would spend the next 22 days believing her daughter had come back to her. She would wire money. She would plan a homecoming dinner. She would call her sister with the news. She would sit in Ella's bedroom at night and talk to her through a phone screen the way she hadn't been able to for 4 months. She would also do something else, something small, something automatic, something that would later become almost unbearable to think about. She would go to the specialty store across town and buy a bottle of Ella's shampoo. Ella had mentioned it in the messages. "I keep thinking about that shampoo you always said was too expensive. I miss it." Dorothy thought, only Ella would say that. Only Ella would remember that specific detail. She bought the bottle. She put it on the bathroom shelf, just in case, just to be ready. And the whole time, every single second of those 22 days, she was talking to a stranger who had read her social media posts, memorized her daughter's face, studied her family's public grief like a research project, and used all of it to steal $14,000. I've spent months with this case. I've read every message. I've spoken to the people who loved Ella and the agents who worked the investigation. And I want to tell you this story carefully, because it deserves that, because Dorothy deserves that, and because, if I do this right, it might protect someone you love. Before we talk about what happened to the Hodges family, I need you to know who Ella was. Ella Poole was 23 years old. She grew up in Aurora, Colorado, 20 minutes east of Denver, in a split-level house on a cul-de-sac where the neighbors knew each other's names. She studied graphic design at the University of Denver and graduated with a client list already in hand. She'd been freelancing since sophomore year, and her reputation for making brands feel alive had spread through the kind of word of mouth that ad budgets can't buy. She had 11,400 Instagram followers, a rescue beagle named Marvin, and a specific quirk that her followers loved: she always mislabeled her hashtags. A Tuesday post, tagged as Monday. A hiking photo, tagged as City Vibes. She knew she was doing it. It was a joke she shared with no one and everyone at the same time. She had her mother's stubbornness and her father's steadiness and her own particular kind of joy, the kind that comes from someone who has figured out, earlier than most, what actually matters to them. She also had a specific, expensive, hard-to-find shampoo, coconut and vanilla. She ordered it online because no regular grocery store carried it. Dorothy called it ridiculous. Ella called it necessary. They argued about it cheerfully for years. Ella was the kind of person that made the specific rooms she was in feel different from the rooms she wasn't in. And on November 14th, 2023, she walked into the Rocky Mountains and didn't come back. She posted to Instagram at 9:14 a.m. The photo: Ella in her green rain jacket, her hair loose under a knit cap, laughing at the camera she'd propped against the boulder. Behind her, the Rockies rose enormous and gray. The caption: "Needed this. The mountains don't care about your problems, and somehow that helps. Hashtag solo trail. Hashtag Colorado. Hashtag Monday vibes." It was a Thursday, not a Monday. She always did that. Her roommate Pippa started calling at 7 p.m.
straight to voicemail. By 9 p.m., she called Dorothy. By 11 p.m., Dorothy had called the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. Ella's silver Subaru Outback was found at the Evergreen Meadows Trailhead parking lot at 12:30 a.m. Doors locked, keys in the center console, no phone, no backpack. Search and rescue was deployed at dawn, helicopters, dogs. 11 days, no body, no trail, no answer. Just a car, a last post, and a silence that expanded until it filled the entire Hodges household. Dorothy Hodges launched the Facebook page within 72 hours. Find Ella, bring her home. Within a week, 12,000 followers. Within a month, 30,000. She posted every day. Photos, Ella at graduation, Ella with Marvin, Ella at 8 years old at the Grand Canyon wearing a hat 2 sizes too big. She posted Ella's favorite recipes, her hiking playlists, her quirks. She wrote long, honest updates about what it was like to live in a house where someone was missing, how you still set 4 places at the table without thinking, how you still buy their cereal. She posted about the shampoo once, a small detail in a longer post about Ella's bathroom, which Dorothy hadn't touched. I can't bring myself to move anything. Her coconut vanilla shampoo is still on the second shelf. I keep thinking she's going to need it when she comes home. Luke posted too, through Ella's own accounts to keep her digital presence alive. He shared old photos from her camera roll, videos she'd taken on hikes, screenshots of conversations that showed her personality. He shared the fish story, how Ella had named her childhood fish Mr. Bubbles and would correct anyone who called him just Bubbles. He shared the hashtag quirk. He shared everything, because everything felt like it might help. I understand why they did all of this. Visibility saves lives. It genuinely does. Posting publicly has found people. It has generated tips that have broken cold cases. The advice to maintain a public campaign, to keep the name visible, to keep the story alive, is given in good faith by people who have seen it work. What nobody told them was what else it does, what it makes possible, what it hands to someone who is reading very carefully from the other side of the world. The operator had been watching since December. On December 3, 2023, 20 days after Ella disappeared, a backcountry hiker found a backpack half buried under fresh snow in a remote drainage valley west of the Evergreen Meadows trailhead. Inside, a cracked water bottle, a granola bar, a portable charger, and a driver's license for Ella Renee Poole. Jefferson County Search and Rescue returned to the area. 3 hours in a ravine approximately 200 feet below a ridgeline, they found her. The terrain was steep, heavily forested. The cause of death, blunt force trauma, consistent with a fall from the ridgeline above. A section of trail had been eroding for months. It appeared to be an accident. Ella had slipped. The FBI, already involved due to the case's online reach, immediately faced a challenge. The body had been exposed to the elements for 3 weeks. Formal identification required dental records. The process would take time. And in the meantime, they made a decision that would haunt everyone. They did not release the discovery to the public. The body had not been formally identified. Protocol required confirmed identification before family notification. So, while the FBI worked, the Hodges family kept posting, kept sharing, kept feeding a man on the other side of the world who was building a ghost from their grief. I want to show you something before we get to March 7th. I want to show you what the other side of this story looked like. It is 3 a.m. in Cebu City, Philippines. The operator is awake. He works at night. His targets are in American time zones, and their most vulnerable hours are early morning when they wake up and reach for their phones before they've had time to build their defenses back up. He has 3 screens. On the left, Dorothy Hodges' Facebook page, scrolled back 4 months. On the center, a spreadsheet, column headers, name, relationship, financial indicators, average response time, emotional vulnerability rating, details harvested, details confirmed. He has been building this file since December. On the right screen, a document, Ella Poole's profile, 22 pages. Full name, Ella Renee Poole. Middle name, confirmed on 2 separate posts. Nickname, L, used by Luke, never used by Dorothy. She always said Ella. He notes this. Childhood pet, Captain, a golden retriever. First fish, Mr. Bubbles. She'd correct you if you left off the Mr. Luke had written. The operator highlights this. It is exactly the kind of detail that sounds like a person. Shampoo, coconut and vanilla, specialty brand, ordered online. Mentioned in Dorothy's post from January 4th. Her coconut vanilla shampoo is still on the second shelf. I keep thinking she's going to need it when she comes home. He highlights this too. This is gold. This is a detail so specific, so intimate, so clearly sourced from real shared life that if he can produce it in conversation, Dorothy will feel it as proof. He opens a new tab, AI voice synthesis software. He has been assembling a voice model from Ella's Instagram videos, 6 short clips, totaling approximately 80 seconds of audio. The model is good now. Good enough. He types a message into Ella's Instagram account, which he gained access to through a password reset using Ella's email, an email whose recovery phone number he traced through a data broker site. He reads what he's written. He adjusts the tone. Then he hits send. It is 3:47 a.m. in Cebu City, Philippines. It is 10:47 a.m. in Aurora, Colorado. Dorothy Hodges' phone buzzes on the kitchen table. Dorothy woke up on March 7th the way she woke up every morning since November. Slowly, reluctantly, with that brief, merciful moment of blankness before memory came flooding back in. Ella, still missing. 113 days. She made coffee. She sat at the kitchen table. She opened Instagram the way she did every morning, checking for tips, for sightings, for any sign from the world that it had remembered her daughter. There was a notification she had never seen before. A direct message from Ella's account. The icon was Ella's face. The username was Ella's, and the first word of the preview was Mom. Dorothy told me later that she dropped her phone. She picked it up. Her hands were shaking. She opened the message. Mom, I'm alive. I'm so sorry I did this to you. I know you've been looking for me, and I'm so sorry. I needed to get away. I was having a breakdown. I can't explain everything right now, but I am safe. I'm in New Mexico. I need your help, but I'm scared to go to the police. Please don't tell anyone yet. Please just talk to me first. Please. She read it 3 times. By the 3rd time, she was crying. She typed back with shaking fingers. Ella? Baby? Is this really you? The reply came within 30 seconds. Yes, it's me. Mom, please believe me. I know this is crazy. I know you're scared, but it's me, I promise. This is the part of the story where people ask, how could she believe that? And I'll tell you what I've come to understand after months with this case. She didn't just fall for it. She was constructed into believing it. Day by day, message by message, the operator understood something that most people don't. You don't win against grief by presenting overwhelming evidence. You win by making doubt feel like a betrayal. Day 1. The conversation is entirely about reconnection. No money, no requests. Just, I'm alive. I'm sorry. I was struggling. I panicked. I bought a bus ticket to New Mexico and have been working at a small hotel in Taos, cash in hand, no name given, because I was ashamed. Dorothy, waking up, opening Instagram, seeing the notification, dropping her phone. These moments deserve full breath between them. Mom, as a message preview, should land as if you yourself are startled by it. When reading the message content aloud, soften the voice slightly, not to imitate the message, but to convey how it would have landed on someone who had been waiting 113 days to hear anything. The explanation of how belief was constructed: you don't win against grief by presenting overwhelming evidence, you win by making doubt feel like a betrayal, should be read with slow, deliberate precision, like explaining the mechanism of a trap. Day 1 through day 3 should build warmth carefully, because the listener needs to feel why she believed. End just before the shampoo is mentioned. Pacing, slow and intimate. Emotion, tenderness shading into dread. The listener should feel both the hope and the trap simultaneously. Avoid any hint of judgment toward Dorothy. 0. Dorothy wants to call the police. Ella begs her not to. I'm scared, Mom. I don't know what happens when a missing person comes back. I've been gone for months. I don't know what laws I've broken. Please, give me a few days. I'll come home, I promise. Dorothy agrees. She is terrified of driving her daughter away again. She calls Frank that night. Frank weeps, the first time since the search was suspended. He goes to bed with his wife for the first time in months without the particular hollow feeling that had taken up residence behind his sternum. He doesn't sleep, but it's a different kind of not sleeping. She calls Luke. He stays on the phone for 2 hours. His voice breaks when he says, "She's alive. She's actually alive." Day 3. Dorothy tests her. She can't help it. The rational part of her brain, the part the grief hasn't fully swallowed, needs something. What was the name of your first fish? A pause. Then, you're gonna say I'm wrong because you think it was Bubbles, but it was Mr. Bubbles. I named him that specifically, and you always shortened it just to annoy me. Dorothy laughed for the first time in 4 months. She actually laughed, because that was such an Ella answer, not just the name, but the context, the family friction around it, the specific texture of a real shared life. What Dorothy didn't know, Luke had written about the fish on the Facebook page 3 months earlier in a post titled, "Things Only Ella Would Do." The third item on the list named her fish Mr. Bubbles and would correct anyone who dropped the Mr. non-negotiable. The operator had read it in December. Day 6. Ella mentions the shampoo. I keep thinking about such weird things from home, like that coconut vanilla shampoo you always said was too expensive. I know that's a stupid thing to miss, but I miss it. Dorothy stared at the message for a long time. She showed it to Frank. He read it twice. Only Ella would miss that shampoo, Dorothy said. Frank said nothing. He was not certain, but he was not certain of his own uncertainty either. The next morning, Dorothy drove across town to the specialty store and bought a bottle of Ella's shampoo. She put it on the bathroom shelf, the second shelf, where Ella always kept it, just in case, just to be ready. Day 8. Luke calls Dorothy from his dorm at Colorado State. He has been rereading the messages Dorothy forwarded him. Mom, something feels off. Dorothy immediately goes still. What do you mean? She hasn't asked about me once. Not really. She asked about Marvin, she asked about the shampoo, but she hasn't asked, I don't know. She always called me Lukey. She hasn't done that. Dorothy feels something cold move through her. She pushes it away. She's scared, baby. She's been through something. She's not herself right now. I know, I know that makes sense. Luke pauses. But Mom, can we at least ask someone to verify the account, see if anyone else has accessed it? And if we do that and it gets back to her and she disappears again? Luke says nothing. I can't risk it, Dorothy says. I can't lose her again. Luke does not push back. He is 19 years old, and his mother just said she cannot lose her daughter again, and he cannot argue with that. He lets it go. Later, after everything, Luke will tell me that letting it go is the decision that sits hardest with him. Not because he could have stopped it, but because he was right, and he knew he was right, and he talked himself out of it. I wanted to believe too, he told me. That's the thing. I wasn't just protecting Mom. I was protecting myself. Day 10. Dorothy asks for a phone call. She needs to hear her voice. After 4 months, after 123 days of silence, she needs to hear Ella's voice. Ella explains she can't call directly. Her phone plan has lapsed. She's using hotel Wi-Fi. The connection is too unreliable for a call, but she can send a voice message. 20 minutes later, it arrives. 34 seconds. Dorothy presses play. Mom, it's me. I know you need to hear this. I know I've put you through hell, and I am so sorry. I'm going to make it right. I promise. I love you. I love you so much. Please just give me a little more time. She played it 6 times. Frank listened. He sat, very still. Then he nodded once and walked to the garage. He was not certain, but he did not say, "That is not her." He said nothing. What nobody in that house knew, AI voice synthesis technology by early 2024 could generate a convincing voice model from as little as 60 seconds of reference audio. Ella had videos on Instagram, TikTok, and the Facebook page, her talking, laughing, explaining things. More than enough material. The operator had been building the model for weeks. The voice was not Ella's, but it was close enough to shatter what remained of Dorothy's resistance. Day 12. Ella explains the situation. She's been working under the table at a hotel in Taos. She saved some money, but not enough. She needs to get back. She needs to fix the legal situation. Expired ID, lapsed registration, paperwork she's afraid to approach police about. She can't come home yet. She needs $4,000. Dorothy tells Frank. Frank says, if it's her, we give it. If it isn't, well, we'll know. He was wrong about the second part, but they gave it. Day 14. More complications. Paperwork fees she hadn't anticipated. $3,000 more. Dorothy wires $3,000. Day 17. The hotel has recognized her from the missing persons posts still circulating online. She is scared. She needs to move. She needs $5,000 for a bus ticket and a motel until things calm down. She is so close. Dorothy wires $5,000. Day 20. $2,000 more. Bus delayed. Border fees for the expired Colorado registration. Dorothy wires $2,000. Total, $14,000. Every transfer routed through Western Union to a third-party account. Every time Dorothy asked for a name, she was given a different one. A friend helping me, a contact at the hotel. She asked fewer questions as the days went on. Hope costs the ability to interrogate. And then, on day 22, the messages stopped. Silence. Dorothy messaged 14 times over 3 days. Each one delivered, none opened. She did not call the police. She told herself that something had gone wrong at Ella's end, that she'd been caught, or that her phone had been confiscated, or that the situation had complicated in some way that would resolve. She waited. She kept the homecoming dinner in the refrigerator. She kept Ella's shampoo on the bathroom shelf.
The call came at 10:47 a.m. Mrs. Hodges, this is Special Agent Victoria Reed with the FBI Cyber Division. I'm calling about your daughter. Is this a good time to talk? Dorothy's first thought was finally a lead. Maybe they'd found where she was in New Mexico. She said, I actually have news for you too. Ella made contact with me. She's been in New Mexico. We've been talking for 3 weeks. A pause on the line. "Mrs. Hodges, I need you to stop communicating with whoever has been contacting you through that account. Immediately. Don't respond to anything else." "What? Why? Ella—" "Mrs. Hodges," Agent Reed's voice was careful, measured, the voice of someone who has done this before and knows the words that need to come next. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to hear it fully before you respond. Are you sitting down?" "Yes." Dorothy sat at the kitchen table, the same table where she had read the first message 28 days ago. "In early December, Jefferson County Search and Rescue located remains in a ravine near the Evergreen Meadows area. We have been working to complete a formal identification. That identification was confirmed 3 days ago. Mrs. Hodges, the remains belong to your daughter. Ella passed away sometime on or shortly after November 14th. I am so profoundly sorry." Dorothy said nothing. "That's not possible," she said finally. "I've been talking to her." "I know. We've been monitoring the account as part of our investigation. The person contacting you is not your daughter. What you've experienced is a form of fraud we've been tracking. Individuals who target families of missing persons by impersonating their loved ones online." "But I heard her voice." "We know. They used AI voice synthesis technology. The voice was generated from videos of your daughter posted publicly online. Mrs. Hodges, can you tell me how much money you've sent?" Dorothy told her. $14,000. Reed was quiet for a moment. Okay, we're going to help you. I need everything. Every message, every voice file, every transfer receipt. And Mrs. Hodges, is there someone who can be with you right now?" Dorothy looked around the kitchen. The homecoming dinner ingredients on the counter. Ella's shampoo on the bathroom shelf. She could see the edge of it through the open door. "I need to call my husband," she said. What followed was not dramatic the way films have taught us to expect. It was quiet. The quietness of a second loss, because Dorothy had to grieve Ella twice, once in November when she went missing, and again on April 4th when she was taken back. When the 22 days of conversations, of voice messages, of homecoming plans, when all of it had to be reclassified, re-understood, walked back through. Frank came home from the garage. Dorothy read him the notes she had taken on the call. She had taken notes automatically, because when the mind receives information it cannot hold all at once, it reaches for a pen. Frank sat in the kitchen chair and put his face in his hands. He had listened to the voice message. He had heard something that was almost Ella, but not quite. He needed it to be her. He had wanted to believe even more than he'd let himself admit. Luke drove home that afternoon. He sat on the kitchen floor with his back against the counter, not because there was nowhere else to sit, but because the floor felt right, because everything solid had shifted and he needed to feel the ground. He said, "I told you something felt off. Day 8. I told you." Dorothy said, "I know. You should have pushed harder. You would have been right, and I wouldn't have listened, because I needed it to be her too." Luke said nothing for a long time. Then, "I basically gave them the manual, everything I posted about her. Mr. Bubbles, the hashtag thing. The shampoo, you posted about the shampoo. I shared everything." Dorothy said, "So did I, baby. So did I." Dorothy still had the messages on her phone. 22 days of conversations, voice messages, the long ones where Ella described New Mexico sunsets, the short ones, "Miss you, Mom. Going to be okay. Promise." The message where Ella mentioned the shampoo. The message where she called Marvin my ridiculous dog because the operator had read about Marvin on the Facebook page. Every detail harvested, every word placed to maintain belief. Dorothy couldn't delete them. She knew every word was constructed by a stranger who had never met her daughter. She knew the voice wasn't Ella's. She knew, and also, for 22 days, those were the last conversations she had with her daughter. Fake conversations, but also
the last ones. She told Agent Reed, "I know I should delete them. I can't. I know why they feel wrong, but I also know why they feel like all I have." Reed didn't tell her to delete them. She said, "You don't have to make that decision today."
Victoria Reed spent 6 weeks on the investigation. The money had been routed through a network of third-party Western Union accounts filtered through multiple countries before landing in Cebu City. The FBI had been watching similar operations for 3 years. The operator was not a lone actor working from instinct. He was systematic. He maintained a database of missing persons cases, sourced from news coverage, social media, and public registries. He filtered for 3 specific criteria. 1. The missing person had an active social media presence before disappearing, providing audio and video for voice synthesis. 2. The family was running a public campaign, generating daily content that built his research file in real time. 3. The case had gone cold. No active search, no recent news. Cold cases meant desperate families. Desperate families meant the lowest possible skepticism threshold. He would wait, months sometimes. He waited for the first raw grief to transform into a numbed, exhausted longing, the state most vulnerable to the offer of return. Then he made contact. He had done this 7 times before the Hodges case. 3 families had paid, combined approximately $38,000. When Philippine National Police, coordinating with the FBI, entered his apartment in Cebu City on May 19, 2024, they found 3 screens still running. They found the spreadsheet. They found the voice synthesis software with 11 active voice models in various stages of development. And they found the notebooks, physical notebooks, handwritten, 31 profiles of missing persons cases he was monitoring or had monitored. 31 families. The Hodges case had 3 full pages. He was extradited to the United States. He pled guilty to wire fraud and computer fraud charges, sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. Sentencing is not the same as justice. Ask Dorothy. Let me tell you what the operator understood that most people don't. He understood that grief doesn't make people stupid. Dorothy Hodges is one of the most intelligent people I encountered in researching this story. She was a librarian for 20 years, a profession built on the evaluation of information, on source credibility, on knowing what to trust and what to question. He understood that grief makes people into perfect believers, not because of a failure of intelligence, but because of an excess of love. When you love someone and lose them, your entire internal architecture reorganizes around one goal: getting them back. Every self-protective instinct gets redirected. You don't hesitate when the universe seems to be offering you back what you lost. You run toward it. And the operator built a trap that was not designed to defeat skepticism through overwhelming evidence. It was designed to make skepticism feel like a betrayal. Every time Dorothy had a doubt, she had to face a second question. What kind of mother doubts her daughter's survival? What kind of mother asks for proof when her child says, "It's me"? The doubt itself became the obstacle. The mechanism that should have protected her was weaponized against her. This is what his notebooks show. Not just research, but psychology. He noted which families posted most emotionally. He noted which posts got the most responses, a measure of how deeply they had given their grief over to the public. He noted the specific texture of each family's hope, how desperate, how organized, how willing to keep believing. Dorothy scored high on all 3. The FBI's Internet Crime Complaints Center documented 47 cases of missing person impersonation fraud in 2022, 63 in 2023. By mid-2024, the number was approaching 90. The operator is in prison.
but the playbook exists. Others are running it.
The shampoo is still on the shelf. Dorothy told me this when I asked her what she wished she could undo. She didn't say the money. She knew the money was gone, and she'd accepted that. She didn't say the messages or the voice call or even the 3 weeks of believing. She said, "I wish I hadn't bought the shampoo." I asked her why. "Because he told me to," she said. I know he didn't say it like that, but he knew. He had read what I wrote. He had found that detail in everything I'd posted. He knew that if he mentioned that shampoo, I would go and buy it. I was doing exactly what he calculated I would do, and I didn't know. I just thought I was being a mother. I thought I was getting ready for her. She paused. He knew that detail because I gave it to him. I posted about that shampoo because I was trying to keep her real, and he used it to make me believe she was alive. He took the thing I was doing out of love and turned it into the weapon. She still has the bottle, unopened. She can't throw it away, and she can't use it, and she can't explain exactly why she still has it, except that it is the thing that she can be most angry at. Not Ella's death, which was an accident, not even the operator, who was in prison, but at herself, for buying it, for wanting so badly that she went and bought the thing that proved how badly she wanted it. I understand that. I think most people who hear this story will understand that. After everything, after the FBI call, after Frank and Luke came home, Dorothy still had the messages on her phone. 22 days of conversations, voice messages, the long ones where Ella described New Mexico sunsets, the short ones, "Miss you, Mom," "Going to be okay," "Promise." The message where Ella mentioned the shampoo, the message where she called Marvin "my ridiculous dog," because the operator had read about Marvin on the Facebook page. Every detail harvested, every word placed to maintain belief. Dorothy couldn't delete them. She knew every word was constructed by a stranger who had never met her daughter. She knew the voice wasn't Ella's. She knew. And also, for 22 days, those were the last conversations she had with her daughter. Fake conversations, but also the last ones. She told Agent Reed, "I know I should delete them. I can't. I know why they feel wrong, but I also know why they feel like all I have." Reed didn't tell her to delete them. She said, "You don't have to make that decision today." Here is the thing that keeps me up at night. The operator had 31 families in those notebooks. He had researched all of them. He had built profiles, assessed financial capacity, noted emotional vulnerability. He had done the work. He contacted 4. 27 families were never targeted. They never got the message. They never had to live through what Dorothy lived through, and they will never know how close they came. They will go on posting about their missing loved ones because that's what you do, because visibility matters, because hope requires action, and they will never know that somewhere in a notebook, in an FBI evidence room, there is a profile of their family, a file, an assessment. The operator never explained the selection. The FBI asked. His lawyers advised silence. The notebooks themselves don't answer the question. They show research, but no clear criteria for who gets contacted and who doesn't. So the question exists and has no answer. What made Dorothy's family one of the 4? Was it something she posted? Something in the financial indicators column? Some calculation the operator made about her likelihood of compliance that the other 27 families, by luck or something, didn't trigger? Dorothy told me she's thought about this almost every day since the trial. She said, "I go back through everything I posted, trying to find what I did that made him choose us, what detail, what post, what sentence I wrote in February or January that made him decide we were worth targeting, and I can't find it, which means I don't know what to tell other families not to do. I can't say don't post that specific thing because I don't know what that specific thing was." She paused. Or maybe there was nothing. Maybe it was just random, and that's somehow worse. The FBI doesn't have an answer either. Agent Reed told me, "We can say with confidence how he operated. We cannot tell you why he chose Dorothy, And that's a question that's going to follow this family for the rest of their lives. 27 families out there, right now, today, who will never know their name was in a notebook, who are still posting about their missing loved ones, still running their campaigns, still doing the brave and devastating thing that families do. I think about them. I think about who right now might be reading their posts, what notes might be being taken, and I have no answer. That's the part of this story that doesn't close. I keep coming back to one image. Ella at 9:14 a.m. on a Thursday she called Monday, in her green rain jacket, her hair loose under a knit cap, laughing at a camera she'd propped against a boulder, the mountains behind her, enormous and gray. The caption, "The mountains don't care about your problems, and somehow that helps." She looked genuinely happy. People always say that about last photos, but I believe it in this case, because she had been out there, under a big sky, in a world that didn't stop for her problems, and somehow, the way she always said, that had helped. The hashtag wrong on purpose, a Thursday called Monday, a joke shared with no one and everyone at the same time, a joke that now nobody gets to hear the explanation for. That's what I think about. Not the scam, not the $14,000, not even the 22 days. I think about the joke she was making in the last photo she ever took that nobody will ever fully get. The private thing that went with her. There's something in that. I don't have the right words for it yet.
Dorothy still runs the Facebook page. Not to find Ella. Ella has been found. She is buried in Aurora, Colorado, in a cemetery with a clear sight line to the mountains she loved. The gravestone has the caption from her last Instagram post carved into the base. The mountains don't care about your problems, and somehow that helps. Dorothy runs the page now to warn people. She posts about the scam, the specific techniques, the red flags, the things she wishes someone had told her. She is connected with 5 other families who were targeted by similar operations. She helped one of them avoid wiring anything. She didn't get there in time for the other 4. Luke graduated from Colorado State in May 2025. He walked across the stage and did not look at the camera when they called his name. Later, he said, "Ella was supposed to be in the crowd. I kept looking anyway." Frank repainted the garage again. He installed new locks. He put a light above Ella's bedroom window. Even though her room is now a guest room, even though no one is waiting for her to come home, he installed the light anyway. He said, "It was something I could do." Victoria Reed testified before a Senate subcommittee in October 2024 on the emerging threat of AI-assisted grief fraud. She said, "What these operations understand, that we are only beginning to understand, is that grief is a vulnerability. It is not a weakness. It is not stupidity. It is love at its most exposed. And the people who exploit it are not targeting fools. They are targeting the most loving people, those who love the most desperately, the most completely, the most humanly." The FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center documented 47 cases of missing person impersonation fraud in 2022, 63 in 2023. By mid-2024, the number was approaching 90. The operator is in prison, but the playbook exists. Others are running it. If you are running a public campaign for a missing loved one, keep going. Visibility matters, but make these choices to limit your exposure. Do not post details that answer common security questions, full middle names, childhood pet names, family nicknames, specific holiday memories. Keep those for private conversations. Keep them for the conversation you'll have when your person comes home. Do not share audio or video content publicly if you can avoid it. AI voice synthesis is genuinely good now. If you have recordings of your missing loved one, treat them as both irreplaceable and potentially weaponizable. Establish a private code with the people closest to you, a word or phrase that has never appeared online, never been said in any public context, never written anywhere. If your missing person makes contact and cannot produce the code, you need to know that. If someone contacts you claiming to be your missing loved one, do not engage alone. Do not wire money. Do not comply with requests to keep the contact secret. That instruction, "Don't tell the police," appears in every single case the FBI has documented. Contact ic3.gov. Contact your case detective. Contact the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at missingkids.org. It is a grim thing to establish a code against the possibility that your loved one might be impersonated, to have to think about that. But we live in this world now. Dorothy lives in it, and she would tell you, be grim about it. Don't let the grimness stop you from doing it.